Oh, and you know what? This is a really great, interesting conversation. Today we have Sharon Heyck Williams from the National Wildlife Federation. And then we're going to talk about lead climate and energy policy advisor. How are you, Shannon? Thanks for stopping by.
I'm great. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. So talk about how you got this gig. How did that happen? Tell me about it. Yeah.
Very interesting. Well, about 24 years ago, I thought I'd just have a little trip to Washington to learn what policymaking is all about, and I'm still here. There's a lot of work to do, so I thought I'd stick around.
Well, it's important, right? You got
Yeah.
you see the specific things. What is your background in so that you can be involved in policy making?
I did study in international studies at first, but then I really realized that as I got more and more interested into environmental issues, environmental science, and policy, there was a lot of really important things to do here in our own country. So gradually that led me to the climate issue, which of course is global, but there are a lot of exciting things to do to advance our own solutions here at home and to lead the world, frankly.
Absolutely. And there's solutions to this problem. It's not a problem that can't be overcome
Right.
before we even get to certain questions, because and a ways where we might not even have to lose if we are creative. That's where the change has happened in the climate change movement. When you agree that more and more we're coming up with solutions that are going to benefit not just the environment, but also people, because we're figuring out ways so that people don't have to sacrifice through different ideas in farming and things like that. So it's really good the things that are happening. When you agree, how we're figuring all this
Absolutely.
out. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
How
absolutely.
yeah. So how is clean energy impacting our communities?
Well, in a very positive way. There's a huge amount of opportunity coming from major new investments from the legislation that's been passed in the last couple of years, a bipartisan infrastructure law, the Inflation Reduction Act, many of your viewers might have heard of. These are funneling tens of billions of dollars in clean energy investments, clean manufacturing, electric vehicle charging stations, you name it. There's just a whole host of different kinds of improvements that are available for different towns and cities all across the country to take advantage of and really improve everyone's lot in life and this and be a part of this future that's coming.
And people with an entrepreneurial mindset see the opportunities that are coming because of this, right? Where they can really make a change and also be able to profit as well. It's a win-win with these.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And sometimes what's needed with new, innovative ideas, whether it's on the farm or whether it's a new kind of energy technology, is to have that help to get over that first hurdle. Because sometimes it can be expensive right up front to just try something new. There's a little bit of chance involved, but these are actually proven strategies. And so it's just really important investment to help small businesses, get going on these new pathways. And then,
Yeah.
yeah, absolutely. Opportunity just follows.
So, what is the impact on clean energy with Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act and Inflation Reduction Act?
Right. So as I mentioned, these are, bringing tens of billions of dollars of opportunity, and they're already creating 75,000 jobs just since they've been passed across the country. More than 300 new large clean energy projects have been launched, and dozens of new clean manufacturing projects as well. So each time this happens, more jobs are created, and a lot of these actually provide opportunity for former fossil fuel communities too, sometimes requiring just very little in terms of new training, often just using the same skills that people have already been trained in, so people can make that transition without too much difficulty.
People should think about ultimately like that transition. We're in a transition in technology. If people look historically, technology wise, that just because new technology comes and other jobs are lost, train them to be ready for the next thing, and it's not going to hurt at all. It just move into another industry. And even the people who are, big oil, they decide I'm going to go ahead and transition this to something else. They have the money, the infrastructure to do it.
That's absolutely right. And in fact, a lot of the you'll see a lot of oil companies, uh, you know, diversifying their portfolios, right? So they're building a lot of the offshore wind projects and a lot of other sort of clean energy projects because they know that's the future. They know that's the future of the business. They need to clean up their act as well.
And that's why we all need to study history, Shannon. If we don't
Right.
study history, we don't understand that when new technology comes, we need to embrace it. We don't need to fight it. That's the bottom line in anything.
Right.
So, and then
Right.
this is such a great project because how does clean energy help people's health, wildlife, and climate?
Right. Well, fossil fuels, of course, have helped build our nation into the great nation that it is today. And we're a world leader in providing, great manufacturing products and providing a sustainable, stable economy and jobs for people and reliable electricity. But that comes with a lot of side effects. It comes with air and water pollution. It, of course, is fueling climate change. It's climate change that is bringing a lot of these dramatic impacts that people are seeing on the TV news or maybe experiencing in their own backyards, whether it's increased flooding or stronger hurricanes, wildfires out west. And we really have to do something about that. So fortunately, we are moving in the direction very rapidly, more rapidly than ever before, to replace these fossil fuels with clean energy that won't have these harmful side effects of air pollution, water pollution, and fueling climate change.
Especially people near those factories. You
Right.
feel for them, Shannon, don't you? I mean,
Absolutely.
what they're going through, and cancer and all these different things. There's nothing they can do about it. They didn't choose to live there. They didn't.
Absolutely.
And
And
sometimes our government is funding some of this stuff, which is crazy, right?
well, that's what is partially so important about this new opportunity in clean energy, and that I really want to encourage viewers and listeners to realize is they can be a part of designing the future, designing this clean energy future, to help decide where these projects should be sited and how communities should be involved in making decisions, and to make sure that benefits from projects do occur in the local communities that are hosting the projects. We want it to be different than how the fossil fuel legacy has left certain communities really damaged by some of the necessary economic activity that the nation relied on, but it did end up with sacrifice zones that we need to change and not repeat those same mistakes.
And we're behind so much compared to the rest of the world when it comes to this.
In a sense, we are. There are offshore wind is a great example. It's a really promising technology that isn't all that new. Europe has had great success already with building out offshore wind and providing energy for thousands of homes. And it's fairly new here in the US. Fortunately, it is growing and starting up in the Northeast and going all the way down the coast. And now there's talk of also installing offshore wind in the Gulf and potentially the West Coast as well, but we're behind. And so that's why these investments are so important, is to help really spur that development and keep it going.
What do you think the biggest fight is? Where, how the movement, how can we make this bipartisan going into the 2024 election, especially for local? I mean, other seats, not just talking about the president, because everyone wants to talk about the president, but every other seat has, from local to state all the way up, needs to look at this specifically, this issue as
That's
a
right. It is.
bipartisan. Yeah.
Absolutely. And it is already bipartisan. Clean energy is bipartisan, despite what you might think looking at Congress sometimes. Actually, the bipartisan infrastructure law is a huge success, huge bipartisan success. And it's true that clean energy polls show everybody across the nation wants to see more of it, whether it's a purple state, a red state, a blue state. People know that they benefit. They benefit from, they might be nervous about the transition. Of course, giant change is hard. But I think that what's most important is that people inform themselves. They can go to cleanenergy.gov and learn more about these different opportunities. Talk to their local leaders. Express that you want to see these types of projects, whether it's manufacturing, whether it's electric vehicles, you name it, whatever is good for your community. Let your leaders know that you want to be a part of that and that they should be working to make sure to secure those dollars for their towns and communities.
Well, I'm glad it's bipartisan because when I heard some of the horrific stories of factories and what they're doing and how it's killing people and more cancer, more and more pollution for animals and also humans, it's just ridiculous. And I think that the thing that we need is more jobs and more really high paying jobs and really look to transition, come up with a great game plan to transition away from oil and gas onto our future. And
Yeah.
and if it's becoming bipartisan, then the people that are the outliers, we need to look at, hey, the outliers are here. It's up to the voters. It's up to people contacting their Congress and Congress, their local representation, right? And really being a voice to say and study these issues, right? Mistake we're making is we're not studying and seeing the facts. We're hearing all opinion on both sides sometimes when it comes politically with certain issues instead of facts.
Yeah, that's very true. And in today's society, especially with social media, it's very easy to just hear the extremes of any point. But to remember that there is a whole host of us in the middle, including my organization, National Wildlife Federation, that work with folks on both sides of the aisle and everybody in between on the facts. And you're right, there are plenty of facts that show that we have the solutions. We know what we need to do to address climate change. It's not a mystery anymore. We just need the political will and the investment in the case of these two pieces of legislation to help it along and have it go faster than otherwise it might if we just left things to politics, right? It might take a little bit too long.
The two
Um,
extremes are
yeah,
controlling politics instead of looking at truly what the country wants. That's the bottom line. And I was talking to former Congressman Jason Altmaier, who was a Democrat, but he said he was in the center, and he said basically the problem is, that our issues are so far extreme on both sides, and we just need to come together to save our planet, but also save as your goal the wildlife.
right.
And what any other initiatives you're having going on right now that you want to tell our listeners and viewers about?
Well, I mean, there's so much going on. And I think the biggest thing right now to emphasize is that these two pieces of legislation are really a historic opportunity, but we're not done. There's still so much more for people to get engaged in, for local leaders to get engaged in. It doesn't just magically happen. Even though these bills have passed, even though there's money to spend, it takes people. It takes people and it takes, really pressure and diligence to make sure that these dollars are spent in the right places on the right things, and that people understand that there's benefits that come from that and from their engagement. Just don't leave it to the system to just somehow manage, magically make it happen, or to business to solve everything for us. We have to actually step in and talk about how we want this to happen for our country.
All right, website to find more information. Where can people go?
Sure. National Wildlife Federation's website is www.nwf.org. Check it out.
Really enjoyed the conversation. Thanks again. Appreciate
Thank
it.
you.
You're listening and watching the Neil Haley Show, and we'll be back in just a moment.